Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Embodied Business Inspired Brain podcast. We are in episode 45, and we've been having some really generative conversations, both here in the podcast and a lot behind the scenes. This episode we are calling The Founder's Dilemma of Money and Meaning. And it's kind of a big deal because we are going to be sharing our own internal process that we've been going through with a major reorganization and shift and kind of recommitment and clarifying what we are all about as a business and what we are about as individuals. I'm going to let Anne in a little bit talk a little bit more about what the founder's dilemma is and how that's playing out for us, and then how it might be playing out for you, particularly around this concept of making money and meaning. Sometimes people will also think about this as like profit and purpose, right? So this concept of like, we want to be able to be financially successful and not sacrifice our health and our lives and the things that we love and the people that we love. So should be a pretty darn good episode. Stay tuned. We're going to start, as we always do, with what's in process, what's in progress. And I like to make Anne start.
I'm taking the baton.
Right.
All right. Yeah, no, happy to do so. So, goodness, this morning, I am really loving the weather. I'm just going to mention that because it's foggy and
feels like fall.
Yeah, it really feels fall and cozy, and I'm appreciative of that. I would say what's in progress for my family is really settling in to the new year and having a rhythm.
The school year.
Yes, school year. So we've been back at school for about 3 weeks, and I'm in that season in life where I still rely on some aftercare for my kids, and it's like signing up for concert tickets to get the aftercare. I mean, literally.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I am on and it's kind of sad because I don't sign up for concert tickets, but I sign up for aftercare.
Well, it's just the phase, right?
Yeah, it's just the phase that I'm in right now. So, yeah, so they've got their stuff to do and they're starting it this week. And I feel quite a bit better. And I will say that as I look back on my life, I do sense that in the fall, I do sort of get an upswing in regulation because I appreciate the consistency and even pre-kid, even like I remember living in San Francisco. And when you live in San Francisco, it is like, there's a very famous Mark Twain quote that says, the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco because it's so stinking foggy. And I just remember the fog not feeling cozy, but feeling a little oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes feeling, because at that time I was teaching Pilates and a lot of times my workload would decrease. And I remember sometimes like just feeling a little like I was floating and it's like I basically needed more stimulation and I wasn't getting it, which is part of why I lived in the city. I love living in the city. I had a lot of stimulation, but even that was that shift in workflow was a bit of a challenge for me. And I think led to me feeling a bit dysregulated. And so I would say what's in process and what's in progress is just me reflecting on and just owning that, yeah, it's the fall and I'm feeling good. And I've felt that way kind of throughout my life. And I'm going to take it and run with it. And I guess it's that sense of acceptance. Like I'm accepting that about myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the fall too. It is by far my favorite season. I love the change of the light. I love the leaves. I love the smell in the air. I enjoy not dressing up. I'm not a Halloween dress up kind of girl, but I do enjoy just the kind of energy around Halloween and the kids. I've always made kind of elaborate costumes for the kids, although mostly I refuse to dress up myself, which is also a matter of acceptance, totally fine with me. So I can just relate. And it's it comes a little slower here in Sacramento. We've had a couple of 70 plus days the last 2 days, but I think by Saturday we're back up to 90. So, but the leaves are falling and the air is changing and the light is changing, which feels really good. I love it. I love it too. It really just makes me feel more regulated, and also feels like it gives me permission to slow down and turn inward, which I think is more kind of along the lines of what's in process and progress for me right now, which also has to do with this big internal organizational change that we've been making in our business. I'm back in a phase of learning, like in a big way. I've been, learning and doing some things for the last couple of years, but I really feel like the work I'm doing now, the learning I'm doing now I'm really in choice about. I'm doing some more work with the Polyvagal Institute and just feeling more permission, I think, for myself to move in this direction of developing this body of work. And also, we're about to launch a new cohort for the Nervous System Integration Facilitator training and talking about it a lot. And also looking backward at the people that have been impacted, who've gone through the program. It's just feeling incredibly generative. And we've been doing something in our business, which is very cool. We've created space for what we call Mental Health Mondays. And we meet as a group, as a team, early in the morning on Mondays to kind of set the tone for what we want the day to be like and how it will support the rest of the week. And my intention for those days has been, so yesterday was to nurture this kind of genuine excitement. And I'm really feeling that. So that has been really just a lovely experience. And I very clearly on Mondays, and I'm trying to do this throughout the week, but I have a memory of when I was in my 20s. I used to go to this coffee shop in downtown Santa Rosa, actually, where Anne lives now. And I used to have a pot of Earl Grey tea and an apricot pecan scone. And I would sit there for hours and journal and read. And this was right after maybe it was during my last 2 years of college. I was a journalism and creative writing major. So I spent a lot of time reading and writing. And there's a part of me that just wants that again. I just want that experience again. So that's what I've been trying to cultivate on my Mondays and then bring that into the rest of the week, which I've been pretty successful, I think. It's been good.
Oh, I think next Monday I'm going to go to some downtown.
Yeah.
Coffee shop. I wonder if it's the same one that's been there forever. Well, there's one by Railroad Square, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one on the square.
I know the one that you're talking about.
Oh, well.
Oh, well, we'll give a shout out. Aromas.
Yeah. Actually, that was like in my 30s. I lived around the corner from Aroma Roasters. But the one, I don't know what the one
was. You talking about Wolf's?
Yes. More downtown, not in.
Yes. I know. I remember Wolf's.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. How funny. Yeah, that's the thing on Monday. I take myself to a coffee shop. I get myself these days a breve cappuccino, which is my favorite, and sometimes a chocolate croissant. But in any case, yeah, it's a good time of year. And so let's talk about the founder's dilemma. You first brought this to my attention many, many years ago. I think probably 4 years ago. Just at the beginning of COVID or shortly after, when our business made a big shift and we kind of exploded with our embodied course creation program and our mastermind. But let's talk about what is the founder's dilemma, and then let's talk about how it's playing out for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So the founder's dilemma is a challenge that you can come across in your business where when the founders come in, when you have your idea, you grow your business to a certain level, to a certain place, and then a shift has to happen. And either the founder can grow and shift with that, or someone else needs to come along and step in to continue to grow the company. So this is speaking within the context, I believe, of people who are asking for outside resources and investors. And so not all businesses grow that way, right? Not some businesses grow without investors. And so that is something where Chantel and I, we have grown without investors. And so when we grow and we shift, we really have to come back to ourselves and say, well, what, how have we grown and shift? How do we need to change? Just to be really like transparent, like I had some health problems right at the beginning of our business when it was very busy. I actually had a surgery and I was very nervous about it. And so I really needed to kind of take a step back. And Chantel and I really had to have a conversation about that. And she really came in and stood up and took over more. So we have used the concept of founder's dilemma, and we've kind of expanded the meeting a little bit more beyond just the sense of, well, are we just going to hire someone else? Because not all small businesses have those types of resources with outside investors and having funding rounds and things like that. So the way I see it in our business is really, I think what it does, which I've learned is so powerful from the nervous system work, is it allows Chantel and I to create space and to say, like, this is a normal experience within a business. It is so normal. It's been studied about, and there's been case studies written about it. And it is a thing that happens. And so what can we do and how can we shift as we move forward? And so we've essentially gone through another founder's dilemma. And I wouldn't say founder anymore. Maybe we'd have to say, small business moment or shift. I'm not sure. I'll have to come up with a term for it, where we have to say, how are we going to grow? Because both of us are deeply connected to meaning in our work. And of course, money makes the world go round. And we need to make enough money, and we need to support other businesses with that as well. So
yeah, and the way, because I've been thinking about this a fair bit, and as you and I have worked with more founders and with people who work with founders in their process, I think my understanding of the founder's dilemma has kind of been refined to this idea of challenge and role. Like, what's the challenge that you're facing? So growth, let's position it that way. It's like, what's the growth potential? Is there growth happening? Is growth stagnating? And then what are our roles within that as founders? So I really do kind of still feel like it's a founder's dilemma because, especially this process we've been going through, not for the first time. So we're seasoned in the founder's dilemma path. Is what do I care about? Do I still care about the same things that I cared about when we met and started in 2011, or we launched the master's program in 2016? And then do I still care about, and am I still interested in the same things I cared about 2 years ago? And I think that's something that for each of us, we've been in our own independent dilemma. And this is something I want to lift up because it is normal, and it's harder if you don't bring it to the surface, right? But sometimes you don't know how, or you're not ready. But it's like, I've been in my own dilemma. Anne has been in her own dilemma, but on the surface, we're both so driven and committed to making the current structure of EBI, our business, Embodied Business Institute, work, that on the surface, we're just kind of cranking away under the same assumptions that we've been working under, the same structure, the same organization, the same things we got clear about 2 years ago, which was new clarity from 2 years previous to that, which was new clarity from 2 years previous to that. You can just be working on the surface, it's just an engine, right? You just got to keep pedaling. You got to keep doing the things. But below the surface, there's these two independent dilemmas happening, right? I think about it right now as two little tornadoes or hurricanes kind of broiling under the surface. And I want to be really genuine about it. It's been a lot. It's been intense for me. It's been intense for Anne. And we have definitely had some challenges because we didn't know, we weren't aware, I think, for a long time within ourselves of what was happening and shifting. And then that causes tension, right? That causes like this. The worst of it is the subtle tension, the friction that's going on that you can't necessarily, it's so subtle and nuanced, you can't name it, right? And so if you can't name it, you can't change it. You can't start to like look at it. And so this is a process that we've actually been in for quite some time, lo and behold, and then actively bringing this dilemma to the surface, probably in the last 5 months, 4 or 5 months. And with more clarity, I would say in the last 2 to 3 months, where we've been having conversations about something needs to change. There's a shift. There's been a big shift for me. There's been a big shift for Anne. But we can, hindsight is 2020. And when we look back, we're like, oh, it started all the way back then when you said this thing, or when I did this thing, or when I felt this thing and I made this move. It's like puzzle pieces on a chessboard. Those aren't puzzle pieces, but pieces on a chessboard, or pieces of a puzzle. You can pick your analogy. And ultimately, I would say what has supported us is our ability to have a lot of compassion for each other, and to, like, we've been working on our communication since the beginning, like really explicitly working on how do I communicate? How does Anne communicate? How do we best communicate with each other and the team? And I think it's that coupled with this deep sense of nervous system awareness, where we are so good at recognizing when our nervous systems are dysregulated that we can create enough space to say, I'm having this experience and I don't want to be driven by it, but I'm having it. And because there's enough space, it's like we can show up and talk to each other. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's a little tense, and sometimes it's really generative. But it's this awareness of, I'm having this experience. There are lots of cues of danger. We know how to move toward or create cues of safety. And it's this maneuvering, I think, that's allowed us to end up in the place that we're at, with this like rededication in a very different way to our brand commitment, which is making money and meaning, right? And it, for me, was kind of a light bulb recently, where we were like trying to untangle things and trying to see how things fit together in a new way, in a different way, and identify like what had been causing the challenges. And it's like, oh, well, we just need to recommit to this concept, to this, idea of, and this sense of purpose around, it is possible to have, to make money and to make meaning. So I'm going to just pause there because that was a lot. I'm curious what's coming up for you, Anne.
Well, I would add that it's just, I feel like I loved what you said about the hindsight is 2020, because when you look back, you're like, oh, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what you said about the subtle tension and how, and then the other conversation that we had the other day that was really powerful was just, you don't always know what it is you're feeling. Sometimes the feelings are just sort of there, and so you can't name them. And so we do know that naming feelings is kind of the thing and the ticket that helps create space and can get things going.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just have to be patient, because you for whatever reason you can't name it yet. And that would actually be a very interesting thing to explore. Maybe on another podcast, like, to get a greater sense of awareness. I think, as we're both women with caretaking roles and children in our life, like, sometimes we just don't have the time or space.
Right.
And whether or not you are caretaking kids right now in your life, people have complex, busy lives, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times it's just, it's like there is so much complexity. It's like maybe other things need to shift before I'm imagining things like sort of settling, like something can't emerge or be revealed until there's been a sense of settling. And so those are some of the main takeaways I've gleaned from this conversation.
Yeah. So what's happening for us is very exciting. So as our business has evolved over many, many years, and I would say as our relationship, it has evolved from the beginning. It's like a marriage, right? It's a partnership. It's like we are growing. We have had to step back and I think identify what is my desire. Where am I going? Where are my interests? What do I want to move toward in my life, personally and professionally? And and the same thing is going on for Anne, and so when that happens, it can feel like, oh, we're going in separate directions. And that's a question, right? Are we going in separate directions? Do we need to start looking at our exit strategy? Like, are we better apart than together? Like, these are real and not comfortable conversations. And I'm so grateful that we've been able to have them in a way that has always felt generative, even if often not comfortable or easy. But then the question is, well, where is the overlap? Where is the core commitment? Like, do we still share a core commitment? Do we still see the collaboration as being beneficial both to us inwardly and outwardly to the people we serve? And is there just a shedding that needs to happen and a re-clarifying? And I'm pretty stoked to say that's where we ended up. And finding this balance as I am a founder of a body of work that Anne has contributed to. Anne is a founder of a body of work that I have contributed to. And moving into this new phase of our business so that each of us can take more ownership of those bodies of work. And we're still fully committed to this idea of making money and meaning. So last couple of episodes, we were talking about profit, and Anne shared last episode 44 about profit for well-being. And so here's what we're after. Here's our move. Here's our founder's move. Is the Embodied Business Institute has a lot of meaning to me, and I think to Anne, when we've built so much together and the brand feels powerful and potent. And neither one of us is willing to let go of this commitment of making money and meaning. We both are pretty greedy, I would say. We're ambitious. We want it all, like in a good way, not in like a negative way. But we are driven, I think, and compelled to not settle. And this is one thing as we've been kind of recrafting our outward statement of the shift is that what we're really about is not settling. And we don't want other people to settle. We particularly don't want women to settle. Ambitious, driven, smart women. We don't want you to settle for either not making money or not having meaning. It's total bullshit. You can and should be able to have both. And it's that commitment that is driving the business and keeping the business, kind of forming and reforming. So within or under the EBI umbrella, we just are creating two very distinct suites of offers. And that's exciting. So there's more autonomy, there's more ownership, there's more potency and more clarity. So talk a little bit, Anne, about profit for well-being and its relationship to making money and meaning.
Absolutely. So profit for well-being is definitely something that I think I've been doing essentially my whole life. Like I got into teaching Pilates because it was helping me with some pain I was having, and I was profiting by experiencing amazing strength in my body. And I happened to be an entrepreneur at the same time because that was all kind of an accident. But I really see profit as absolutely it's money because with profit, there is more power. I want more women to have more voices. I want more small businesses to have more profit because small businesses give more to their local communities. Keeping money in your community is so powerful, whether you have a brick and mortar or whether you have an office out of your home, you're still in a community, or whether you have an office out of two different homes or in a plane, right? Like you're still in community with where you are, right? And so Profit for me over time, absolutely is income. And I would say that profit for me has also meant time, because I am someone who had a lot of time until I had 3 children kind of all at once with a stepdaughter and then 2 children sort of back to back. And then I was like, holy smokes, I have never not had time. Like, it was a very jarring experience for me. And so a lot of the research shows us that a way in which women can find some of the most happiness is if they are able to buy back their time. And so for me, I bought back my time with having support with cleaning my home. At some point, I was also having support with laundry, because I don't mind doing laundry, but there's just a lot of laundry when you have little tiny underwear and people are getting dirty. Like, it's just so much. And I'd rather honestly be noodling and thinking about my business than folding for hours and hours a day. So that's just an example. But one of the things that I like really, and what I've been learning through the Profit for Wellbeing work, and what I've done is I went and got a license through Pricing Overhaul, which has been a wonderful system that I use. But I really do think that you have to look at the whole person and what do they mean. And I'm just going to give one more specific about the Profit for Wellbeing, is that this was really a light bulb moment for me, because I did this whole system to my business in 2018, which was that you must pay yourself an owner's salary. And then on top of that, you want to create a profit. And so that might be normalized to people who understand that, but I operated my business for 16 years with never even thinking about that at all. And I wasn't struggling for money. I had enough money. I didn't think about it. I was fine. Money was like, there was no issue, but yet I also left a lot of money on the table over those years because I just had no awareness. And so Profit for Wellbeing, one of the goals is to really support you as a business owner in getting you a very consistent owner's salary, and then working to create profit margins on top of that. And the other piece that is time bound within the Profit for Wellbeing offer suite of our business, the Embodied Business Institute, is this concept of, if you're an expert, one of the best ways that you can support your clients through transformation is to design curriculum for them. And to design programming, whether that's coaching containers, because if you are stuck in the dollars per hour economy, you're essentially on a hamster wheel. And if you stop working for whatever reason, whether that's a caretaking responsibility, because women are 3 times more likely to have a caretaking responsibility in their life, or you just get sick or whatever, you're not making an income. And I don't want people to suffer like that anymore. I think that's BS. And I think I want to build business systems that support people beyond that. And so supporting your clients through transformation, which is rooted in the nervous system, and this will weave us right into the nervous system side of the nervous system works for the Embodied Business Institute.
Yeah. I mean, I also just want to say, like, it's like, here's the overlap, right? It's like, it's dysregulating when you are suffering because either you're not making enough money or you've lost the sense of meaning in what you're doing. And it can be so difficult to make change when you're not just difficult, but downright absolutely impossible because of what it does to your brain, right? So when your nervous system is in fight or flight, or you're completely disconnected, you can't make the change even though you want to. And so this is where the nervous system comes over to not only lift up the transformational curriculum design that we've been offering for years now, but also this really deep work of shifting the way you do your pricing and you make profit in your business. And so the other avenue, right, when we talk about supporting meaning, is we're really looking at behavior change from a brain-based and nervous system perspective. And that suite of offers is now delineated as nervous system works. So we've got Profit for Wellbeing, we've got nervous system works, and this has been a big part of our business as it's been evolving over time. And we have multiple opportunities for folks to come in and start to experience the nervous system work, whether that's in one of our 28-day programs, which we've been running for years and years, or it's in our Elevated Entrepreneur program, which is a 3 to 12-month membership program for leaders and entrepreneurs that want to really start to find more flow, more joy, reduce the cost of their ambition, and really uplift the expansion, the possibility of their desires. And then our big kind of flagship program for Nervous System Works is the NSIF program, which is our year-long certification program. So movement educators, people in somatics, if you're a coach, a leader, like really no matter what, you can come into this program and learn all of the science, which is emergent. It's not static, it's growing, and we're always on the cutting edge of that. And you learn a framework that you can apply to any domain to support people in getting out of that dysregulated state that prevents change from happening and come back into this healthy regulation and this ability to transition states so that you can more healthfully maneuver and navigate the complexity in your lives, in your work, in your teams. And also you can really establish behavior change. And that's kind of the crux of that program, but really of all of the nervous system work. So supporting making money and meaning, uplifting that brand commitment for EBI with Profit for Wellbeing and Nervous System Works. We're really excited to say that out loud. You're the first to hear it. And you'll hear us talk more about those different 2 suites of offers and opportunities within each of those. And we'll be talking about them very explicitly within the podcast. Yeah, lots more really juicy stuff to come around all of that. Any closing thoughts, Anne? Let me wrap things up.
Just wanting to thank our audience. And if you have experienced something like a founder's dilemma, and just know like you're not alone. I think a lot of times you can feel so alone as an entrepreneur. You can feel so alone as a founder. And it's really important to know that you are not alone in that these experience, because then you don't get stuck. I like to say a cul-de-sac. Like you're not stuck somewhere. You're just like, okay, this happens. And how do we solve this problem? So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, awesome. I love this conversation. I'm excited to share the process and the news and to continue to develop these 2 suite of offers so people can really have the support to make money and to make meaning. All right, thanks everybody. See you next time.